join me on a journey because now we're talking to Captain Nick, and it's going to be so much fun. How are you?
Absolute pleasure, Donna. I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
So you flew in today to be on the show, and so that was pretty exciting, but you fly a lot.
I do.
Okay,
I
so
do.
you are a captain for an airline.
I am.
And where did your love of aviation start?
At home, I grew up in Arlington, Texas, in North Arlington, just south of Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. And when I was about 2 years old, a beautiful, big 3-engine airplane turned final approach over my house to land at DFW International Airport. And I looked up and I said, I'm going to do that. And I did.
Knew. And you did.
I
And you
did.
knew. So you had mentioned how beautiful it was, that there was like a white picket fence, and you were like describing that to me. Can you share that with the audience?
Sure. Where I grew up is actually in the middle of the metropolis, in between the Dallas-Fort Worth area and North Arlington. So I take side streets to go to Rangers games, Cowboys games. It's a big entertainment venue. But in my neighborhood, there has always been an Arabian mare horse farm. So it's very serene. So even we're right in the middle of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You're right in the thick of it. So down the street from my home is this beautiful Arabian mare horse farm, massive grazing yard, traditional white picket fence. You can go up and feed the horses, and then a jet flies right over your head.
Wow.
So you're right in the middle of the city, but it has a very, very nice, calming, attractive allure to it.
Two forms of transportation.
That's right.
Horses and airplanes.
That's how the sheriffs get around sometimes. They still ride horses in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
They do. Giddy up. I loved that story because it reminded me of my own childhood. I grew up in St. Louis, and so we would go to the PVA, which is the public viewing area, and we would sit there, and that was our entertainment. Sometimes we'd pop popcorn as if we were going to a drive-in, and we would just watch the jets fly right over, and then they would do the approach, and it was like right from the west going east, right? And they would just, like, I could see the belly of the plane, right? So your fascination with aviation, what steps did you take in order to become who you are today?
Excellent question. So the paths, there's many paths to get to a legacy airline or commercial airline cockpit or flight deck,
Okay.
as it were. I started off as a civilian. So I went to an aeronautical university. In college, I flew my bottom off. I was a flight instructor in college. During college, September 11th happened.
Oh.
And I knew that the industry was going to change, but it didn't change my course of action in becoming a pilot. Although during that time period, the United States Air Force needed officers and they wanted to ramp up pilot production. So I was a flight instructor and civilian pilot in college, and then was recruited right out of college to learn how to fly all over again as an officer in the United States Air Force. So it was, I had a little taste of both paths, so I can relate to both the civilian path and the military path. Had I not would have gone into the military, I would have flown for a regional airline and then worked my way up to a big legacy carrier, which I am now. But I was called to serve, so I hit a fork in the road and I took that path.
They nickname you KOKO.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So during your military career, I believe you've flown over 100 flights. Is that correct?
Over 200 combat missions.
Over 200?
Over 200. Well over
Wow,
200. 262, I believe.
The call to serve, right? Because you're still serving today, but the call to serve in the military. Let's talk about that, because that's a whole other career path, right? And yes, it has to do with flying, but so much more. What was pressed upon your heart? I happen to be where my studio is, Nick. I don't think I mentioned this to you. I was here on 9/11. I was in this physical building, and the trajectory that I took because of that moment. We all kind of know exactly where we were, if we were born before that, but I digress. Anyway, what was that? Like, what spoke to you?
I was sitting in a calculus class, sophomore year of college, and someone had come in to the classroom and said, an airplane has hit the World Trade Center. And I thought, okay, maybe it was a small general aviation aircraft and it was a very unfortunate accident. And then another airplane hit the second tower. That's when I knew it was not an accident. And I knew the aviation industry was about to change. And I had this very cathartic experience where I thought about my upbringing, and I was very fortunate to go to college, actually be into college and learning to fly and enjoying it and flight instructing. And I thought, well, maybe instead of being a regional airline pilot right now, service to my country and flying might be a better combination. And so I took that path.
When you took that path, you decided to go full on.
I did. Yeah.
Can you share with us some of those things? Like, I know you, I don't want to talk about like the military part of what you had to do on a day-to-day basis, but just talk to me about why that patriotism for you is important.
Well, living in this country, you have so many freedoms that are paid for on the backs of others. So I saw it as a pay it forward concept. Is my upbringing was good. I was very happy with my quality of life and my parents and my family. And I wanted to ensure that future generations have that same experience in this wonderful country we live in. So I looked more of it, I looked at it as a pay it forward concept. Honestly, I had a middle school guidance counselor. And I remember you sit down with your counselor, you discuss classes, and what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I want to be a airline pilot at a big airline and fly big airplanes and transoceanic airplanes. And he goes, oh, that's cute. Well, you know, let's think of something a little bit more realistic. Does anybody in your family fly? Is anyone in the military? Has anyone flown? Do you know any airline pilots? What
Wow.
about a trade? And I went, you know, I'll never, ever, ever forget that conversation. And I let it motivate me, even when I'm told no. And as you know, you hit times in your career, you're told no a lot. No, no, no. It's always the comeback, not the setback. And a lot of times you're told no for the appropriate reasons. Sometimes you're told no and you just don't understand why. But I let that conversation in I believe it was the 8th grade, motivate me and push me further to see what I could do next. What was I capable of? Could I become a military pilot? Absolutely, I could become a military pilot, and I actually did a pretty good job of being a military pilot and had some incredible experiences along the way. But the end game was to go fly for the big airline, in which I love my job. It's great. Going to work is it's my career, it's also my hobby.
Okay. Oh, that's nice. So it's your vocation and also your fun.
I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
Yeah, I like what I do too.
I love what you do, yeah.
It's like a lot of fun. And it's interesting that knowing, that internal knowing. So when you're a pilot, there's, I guess, different types of aircraft. What is the correlation or the difference between being a military pilot and then flying a commercial aircraft?
So in the military, you are operating a weapons system.
Okay.
Versus at an airline, you're flying from point A to point B. Seems pretty basic. In the military, you're taking that aircraft, and it is a weapon. Not only are you flying it from point A to point B, but you are employing it through a full spectrum of combat. So it takes a lot of situational awareness, takes a lot of character, ability to critically think very, very quickly, and it also takes somebody that has a very, very calm mindset and calm demeanor. A lot of times we see military flying in film, it looks very almost chaotic and very intense, and those weren't my experiences at all flying in combat. It was all very well, I don't want to use the word choreographed, but it was very well planned and almost very calm. Now, we have to be very adaptive. Things changed by the second.
Correct.
But it's not what you see in film and in the media. It is a very, very, very well safe, thought of, planned, almost like an orchestra or ballet.
So it's important to stay calm.
Yes.
To educate yourself well, to be trained with all of the information at hand,
And we
and
go
to
through
be
constant
adaptable.
training. Constant training. Yeah.
Well, and even with a commercial airline, sometimes, you know, you also have to be aware. You have to stay present. You have to have a high intelligence, but you also have to have an emotional intelligence about yourself, right?
Right.
Because you're responsible for all the people that you're traveling with.
That's
you know?
absolutely. And to do that, just like in the military, we take care of our bodies. So you are held to a physical standard.
Okay.
You are physically tested to make sure you meet those standards at least once per year. You want to take care of your body. You want to eat the right foods. You want to read. You want to enrich yourself. I do that. I take the same approach at the airlines. I get plenty of sleep.
Good.
I always go to the gym. I read. I eat right, because when I go to work, I want to ensure that I take care of all those basic necessities. One, so that I'm safe, but two, that I can enjoy my job.
I think it's nice that you're a role model for other people that want to go into aviation. And yes, those middle school counselors sometimes, you think that they mean well. Oh, be a realistic, but you can really be anything that you choose to be.
You can.
There's a path to success for everyone.
You can find a
right?
way. You can definitely find a way.
Now, what do you, on a day-to-day basis, like, because you're able to fly places, right? Is there a destination that you've traveled to that is like so incredible for you, that brings you happy, joyful memories?
I am always drawn to Hawaii.
Okay.
When I was in the Air Force, flying actively in the Air Force, I flew to Hawaii. Gosh, I lost count of how many times I flew to Hickam Air Force Base, or Honolulu International. It's actually the same airfield. And you make the approach to runway 8 left, you come right over Pearl Harbor, and on a clear day you can look down and you can see the Arizona and the water and the memorial. And just the Hawaiian Islands and the vibe that they give off, and the purity of the land and the culture, I've always been drawn to that. At the airlines, I get to have the same experience. I get to go back in my big, beautiful 767 and fly from JFK to Honolulu and relive all that. And it's absolutely, it's magical what it does for you. It's almost kind of a full circle experience, but I've never seen or experienced a place as clean and as beautiful and as enriching as Hawaii, and it just happens to be part of the United States, which I think is
Cool.
absolutely wonderful.
That is absolutely wonderful. For me, flying home to St. Louis is always nice too, because as it approaches, looking out, not the front window, because I don't have the same view you have, but looking out the side window, I always try to plan out which side I'm going to be able to see the arch. Right, so
I'm the same way when I fly to specifically. What runway are we landing on?
Right.
Where are the winds, and where am I going to have the best view?
The best view
Yeah.
as we're landing.
Yeah.
You are so joyful. Thank you for bringing awareness about aviation and becoming a pilot, because I know a lot of people are butcher, baker, candlestick maker, right? And sometimes they don't get pushed into that as a career field. Maybe there happens to be a shortage. So maybe if somebody has an interest, we should try to help guide them towards that.
Absolutely. There are many pathways, there are many avenues. There are technical colleges or technical, almost trade centers to get your pilot license. A lot of people go to universities, and there's also the military. So there are really a lot of avenues to get to that big airline cockpit and that dream job.
I know one other funny thing too, because we are friends, was Top Gun and Maverick, right? And one of the times you actually flew one of the actors, so you've had some fun experiences along the way.
I did. I had Monica Barbaro on
Okay.
one of my flights, and I'll tell you the story about it. We were flying from Mexico City to Los Angeles on a Boeing 757. I get to fly both the 757 and the 767. They're both wonderful, wonderful aircraft. And during my welcome aboard PA,
Yes.
I pitched the movie Top Gun Maverick. I had just seen the film. It had just come out. We had it in the entertainment system on board our aircraft. I think we still do. I thought the cinematography was absolutely mesmerizing. The film was so well done. Tom Cruise is just a visionary. And so I said, hey, nice flight today. It's going to be great flying conditions, nice smooth flight. If you're interested in a flick, our entertainment system is fantastic. Highly recommend Top Gun Maverick. And afterwards came out of my mouth, Top Gun Maverick. The first class cabin erupted.
Wow.
And I went, man, I wonder what's going on back there. Something's going on. And if I have time, I always get up and I go thank our first class cabin for flying with us. And I got to the very last row, and a woman says, so you like Top Gun, huh? Yeah, it's a great film. Love it. I'm a military pilot myself. And
Right.
I thought it was, Top Gun Maverick was incredibly well done. She goes, why don't you go tell Phoenix? I said, Phoenix? Wow. Yeah, Monica Barbaro. She's sitting in
the row.
3B. And I said, no, she's not. Yeah, really, she is. And I had passed right over. I said hello to her, not realizing who it was. And she turns around, she goes, hi, Nick.
Wow.
So I invited Monica up to the cockpit. We had a really nice conversation. This film has changed her life. She is a wonderful actress that has many roles now, and she's really, really coming into her own as an actress. But the film really brought aviation to the forefront of her life, and also military service.
Yes.
So I'm really happy to hear her experiences, and I think she did a great job on screen.
When somebody ever asks me what my spirit animal is, I always say a bird. So you know what? Maybe I'll try to learn how to fly as well. I know it takes a lot of hours, right? You got to, but it's possible.
It
all
does,
just starts
it
with the
does,
first
yeah.
step, right?
Right.
Step 1, step 2, but everyone can fly. It was nice to meet
Everyone
you.
can fly. Thank you
Yes.
so much, Donna.
Happiness to you.
Always a pleasure to get to speak with you.
This was phenomenal, and to all the future pilots out there, let's go.
Love
right?
it.
Thank you so much. Stay tuned for more. We've been visiting with Captain Nick, and we thank him for his military service. We thank him for being a commercial pilot now, and he's just a really great guy. Thanks for watching. So you just watched that segment with my friend Captain Nick, and I forgot, look how cool this jacket is. So Nick, we're gonna see this art, and then you could turn around and tell me about it.
So that was my aircraft. It's a Boeing KC-135, my first assignment at McConnell Air Force Base in Wichita, Kansas. The aircraft was assigned to me, and I actually got to fly my 100th combat mission in that aircraft. The aircraft is still flying and serving the Air Force today. It's a part of history, so I thought I'd commission an aviation artist who's also a KC-135 boom operator to paint my jacket.
Beautiful. Thank you.
My
Happiness
pleasure,
to you.
Donna.
Bless you. Thank you so much. All right. Be well, everybody. Take care.